In this video, I want to talk about the difference between water beading and water sheeting and try to clear up this idea of which one might be better. What's going on? Glad you're here and welcome back to the Wilson Auto Detailing community. If you're a pro detailer or a car enthusiast and you just love everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing. So water beading and water sheeting. Number one, I want to show you what kind of it looks like, and then I want to share with you guys more or less the difference between the two and kind of get a little bit deep into the chemistry behind why this happens, because I think when you understand that, it makes these chemicals make a lot more sense as a pro auto detailer. So I'm going to tap into my first 2 years of college here as a pre-med major and go chemistry hard in this video. So before we actually look at the water beading and the water sheeting, I wanted to write it out here so it makes a little bit more sense. Now again, if you're not interested in this, skip over it, not important. But this is actually the science behind why this stuff even happens. So obviously we're dealing with water generally. So you've got H2O, right? That's what it makes up water, right? 2 part hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. So generally when you're in class and they're teaching you this, what the H2O particle looks like is kind of like Mickey Mouse. The molecule looks kind of like this. You have your 2 hydrogens here, and then you got your oxygen there, okay? So Mickey Mouse. Now, a lot of detailers really love those tight beads of water when they're really circular. They're like, man, that's amazing. Those are the products I like. I like those too, and it's for good reason. Basically, what happens is you have these little water molecules interacting with each other, right? That's what water is, all right? They form hydrogen bonds between each other, right? The hydrogen bonds with the oxygen. Hydrogen can bond basically with 3 elements. It can be oxygen, nitrogen, or fluorine. In this case, it is oxygen. So all these little water molecules are interacting with each other in a glass jar. Let's just say we got a glass of water. Now, when you have all these molecules, basically, when they're interacting with each other, they are being pulled in different directions. So you see these 2 water molecules interacting with each other. Pretend like there's water molecules all around them as well, okay? They're not only interacting with each other here through hydrogen bonding, they're also interacting with each other here, here, here. So they're being pulled. Basically, let's just pretend it's always in these 4 perfect directions, which basically cancels each other out, okay? Problem is, when you're dealing with the surface of the glass of water, so this is in the middle of the glass of water. On the surface of the glass of water, you have these water molecules interacting with each other just like this, but the problem is there's no water molecules above them to interact with, right? All you have up here is air. So all of a sudden, because these water molecules at the surface of the glass are not interacting with anything above them, they're interacting with the water below them and beside them, they have, maybe a good way to think about it is like they have this leftover energy, okay? They have this leftover net force, and it's pulling inward, okay? The leftover net force is pulling the water inward, okay? This is why when you fill up a glass of water really slowly, and it gets to the very top, you can fill it up even a little bit more than the glass. You can fill it up higher than the glass, and it forms kind of this like bulge here at the top, and it won't run over the glass, okay? If you keep filling it up, the water will run over. But if you fill it up just above the rim, it'll like form a little bubble, and that's because this net inward force is keeping the hydrogen molecule, the water molecules together. It's pulling inward because of these strong intermolecular forces, these strong hydrogen bonds. Well, that is what we call surface tension. So a lot of detailers throw this word around. They say surface tension, surface tension. When you have water beading, it's surface tension. Well, yes, it is surface tension. So in the context of water on a car hood, you have this surface tension. Let's go look at it to see it illustrated in real life. Okay, so you can see how the water is beading and it's turning into like tiny little circles, tiny little balls of water on the surface. Well, there's a coating on the hood of this car, right? It's a hybrid ceramic wax. So this coating is hydrophobic, right? So in other words, it repels water. People say hydrophobic things don't like water. That's not really true. Like coatings and stuff don't have feelings, so they don't not like water, they just repel water, basically. And so what's happening here, when we were just talking about surface tension, the reason these detailers say, man, these beads are so tight, there's a high level of surface tension. Why is that? Well, because just like we said, on the surface of these beads, on the sides of these beads, and of course below these beads, there's no more water particles, or molecules for the beads, the water inside the beads, to hydrogen bond to. So rather than hydrogen bonding with these other water molecules, basically it creates, again, a strong net inward force because there's nothing out here for them to bond to, so they're just pulling in. There's this leftover energy that's pulling them together. So when you have a coating that's hydrophobic, like this is, and the water's not going to at all bond with the paint whatsoever, it's actually repelled off of the hood, then not only do you have surface tension up top here in the air, but you have surface tension below, and that surface tension below is why you see these beads, okay? Now basically the beads run off of the paint because why? Well, as you continue to spray more water on the hood, the beads get bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, eventually they reach a certain size and a certain weight to where gravity kicks in and they just roll off the paint, right? So when we're talking about water beading, you have a high surface tension. That's what's causing the water to bead. When you're talking about water sheeting, it doesn't look like this, does it? It doesn't bead up. Why is that? Because products that sheet water instead of bead water, they're less hydrophobic than products that bead water. So products that bead water, more hydrophobic. Products that sheet water tend to be less hydrophobic, okay? Some people say that products that sheet water are hydrophilic, meaning it like basically likes water. Well, that's not really true. It's still hydrophobic, it's just at a lesser level than the products that bead it. So again, I know this is a ton of information, but that is technically what is happening here. So when you have sheeting rather than beading, basically what's happening is because the surface is not as hydrophobic, it causes less surface tension, and therefore the beads don't form up like they do here. There's not as high of a net inward force. So when it sheets off, those hydrogen bonds between the water molecules are trying to stay together, right? They're trying not to break, and the water sheets off. Hopefully is what you want is for it to sheet off together. When you're beading, you want it to bead up so that it's not basically, I don't know a better way to say it, laying on the paint to bake in the sun and to form water spots. Generally, water spots are going to form from like hose water like this, not from rainwater. But again, that is the technical reason that you have sheeting and you have beading. Now, where this comes into play in the detailing world is there are detailers who say, man, I'd rather have a product that sheets water, I'd rather have a product that beads water. And one of the main arguments that comes up is they say, I want a product that sheets water because when water is sheeted, it is less likely to form water spots than when water is beaded. So the logic is, if you can sheet the water off and not leave a bunch of beads on the paint, there will therefore probably be less water spots. This is just me speaking from my experience, and so you can take this with a grain of salt. I've used both products a lot, and there really is not a like noticeable enough difference between sheeting and beading products as far as water spots go. When hard water bakes in the sun from a sprinkler, from a hose, whether you have a beading or a sheeting product in real life, generally it reacts pretty much the same. Like water spots will form at pretty much the same level. Again, that's just my experience, so I can't speak for everybody, but yeah, that's basically why people prefer one or the other. Now, more and more it feels like detailers are preferring beading products, and more companies are producing products that bead water because it's kind of like a visual thing, right? Like when you spray a hose on a hood like that and it beads that water, it looks pretty freaking cool, right? So that's, it's probably a little bit of marketing as well as just, it's just a good product, you know? It's good for water to bead on the paint so it can roll off in the wind or whatever have you. So again, sheeting, beading, I personally prefer products that bead water. I think they just tend to work better, but that's kind of the difference, so I hope that helps. So guys, let me know in the comments if this actually helped, because this is kind of a detailed video as far as like technicalities are concerned, so definitely let me know if this was like interesting or maybe made it a little bit more simple to understand. I hope it did. But anyway, if you're new to this channel and you're a pro detailer or a car enthusiast and you love everything auto detailing, then definitely consider subscribing. And I will hook up a link below to my website where I have different paint protectants and paint coatings that you can check out for yourself that will actually do things like this to your paint. And of course, as always, thank you guys so much for being involved here. And from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, keep working hard, and I will see you guys in the next video.